Anken Ma'at, Anken Ma'at, Anken Ma'at. I'm glad you are here. Please come on in. Come on in. Join us for Kemetic Ascension. Join us. Anken Ma'at. I'm hoping that you are doing well. We did not have Kemetic Ascension last cycle, so I must ask that all of you are doing well. I'm hoping that you're doing well. Anken Ma'at, Anken Ma'at. Anken Ma'at, I'm doing well. Brother Simmons, Brother Kevin Simmons, it's good to see you. Come on in, family. Come on in. Please join us. I'm in Queens, New York today, not in Harlem or in New Jersey. I'm in Queens, New York. So I had to set things up a little differently, as you notice. Things may look a little different. I am creating a little studio down here. It's not quite ready yet. Anken Ma'at, please join us. I see how many of you are coming in. I'm pleased that you are here. You know that whenever we begin Kemetic Ascension, we begin the same way. The same way. We ask how long you have been part of Kemetic Ascension and where in the world you are. How long you've been part of Kemetic Ascension and where in the world you are. Please go ahead and let me know. I'm seeing several messages here. One from Ron Green coming to us from Illinois. Anken Ma'at, dear brother. We see Sen Jehutimes Ma'at Hotep coming to us from Cornwall, Ontario, one of our full members. Anken Ma'at to you. Anken Ma'at to a magician coming to us from Alabama. I wonder where in Alabama. I have not been to Alabama yet, but it's a place that I've spent a lot of time reading about, I guess is probably the best way to describe it. It's just been part of our legacy as people of African descent in the United States. It has been such an interesting place to focus on. Birmingham, absolutely a historic city in the African tradition. Yes, glad you're here. I see Kevin Simmons says he's been listening for a few years. He's from Baltimore, Maryland. Wonderful, wonderful. I'm seeing Black Ace coming to us from Buffalo, New York. Anken Ma'at, I'm glad you're doing well. You're always here. Anken Ma'at Sar Amun Ra coming to us from Dallas, Texas. Anken Ma'at to you, dear Sen. I'm glad that you are here. One of our full members, Anken Ma'at. Anken Ma'at to send Jason Holmes, coming to us from Lincoln, Nebraska. One of our full members and a very active member. Anken Ma'at to you. Come on through, come on through, come on through. Anken Ma'at to Taseti, coming to us from Denver, Colorado, the Mile High City, going on 4 years. Yes, you are always here. Welcome, welcome. Anken Ma'at to Edsel Peterson, coming to us from Rochester. I'm assuming you mean Rochester, New York, right? That's, for those of you who don't know New York, Rochester is almost, it's way up there, and New York City is way down here. So driving, it would take maybe a good 6 or 7 hours, maybe about 6 hours to drive to Rochester. So the Edsel is in upstate New York. Certainly as I spend a little bit of time in upstate New York because I went to Cornell, which is in Ithaca. Ithaca is still not as far north as Rochester, but central New York, upper northern New York are places that I enjoy going to. Yes, it is Rochester, New York. Anken Ma'at to Brother Pempanzi Obabini Kanefer Weben Ra. Incredible name. One of our full members coming to us from Philadelphia. Anken Ma'at, dear brother. And we have the Jati, the convener, the organizer of our activities in Benue or Phoenix, Arizona. William Humphrey, Ankin Ma'at, dear brother, it's good to see that you're there. Ankin Ma'at to Yoga Girl Sai, who you may know better as as Abut Sashat. She was clear she wanted to still use the title Abut. Abut Sashat, one of the priests of the Shrine of Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at to you, dear Abut. Ankin Ma'at to Freddie Hines, 585 New York. Not sure what 585 means. Let me know. What do you mean by that? Ankin Ma'at to Adam I am. And I know I'm saying that wrong. 720. That is Sen Curtis Jackson. He has explained to me what it means. It is profound. And certainly he needs to explain it to the community at some point as well. Ankin Ma'at to you. And happy Father's Day. Yes, today is Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to all of you. And yes, I'm glad you're reminding me to say that the Cash App is $Ma'at Shrine. It is a new Cash App. So please, if you do make donations, that's where it would go to. Dwa for reminding me, send Tehuti forever. Ankin Ma'at to SC from Upper Man, New York. You mean Upper Manhattan? You mean Upper Manhattan? So you're not quite in Harlem. Maybe you're in, I don't know, Washington Heights or Inwood or something. Is that what you mean? Because I don't know of a place called Upper Man, New York. I think you mean Upper Manhattan. First time you messaged us. Wonderful, wonderful. Ankin Ma'at. 585. Oh, you mean I must be slow working, as Sonetta says, I must be working with slow gases today. 585 is the area code for Rochester. And I did not remember that. So that's what you meant, Edsel. I get it. Ankin Ma'at to another day, another miracle I am. That is what Adam I am means for Sen Curtis. I knew that it was profound. He told me, and I said, that's really deep, brother. So definitely that's what that means. Ankin Ma'at. Ankin Ma'at to Asaju Kem Orikaba, coming to us from Houston, Texas. Ankin Ma'at to you, dear Sen. Ankin Ma'at to Tree Adventures. Send me that, Shakina. You need it. You need your heart and mind. I get it. Ankin Ma'at. Let me go ahead and say Ankin Ma'at to all of you that are here. I know you're all coming in, probably a little slower than usual because we didn't have Kemetic Ascension last cycle. And so sometimes that throws people off a little bit. I must apologize and restore Ma'at with you. I've been doing a lot, moving part of what I'm doing, part of my stuff to Queens, while some of it's still in Harlem, and creating a studio here in my home of origin. This is the place where my parents raised me. My mother is here. And so I'm coming back to spend some more time with her and creating a little studio. More on that later. You're going to hear more about the things that are going on as they proceed. But last week we had just done too much. And so I just could not do Kemetic Ascension. I was traveling back and forth. And so I apologize. It's probably jarring for some of you when that happens. So, and I see Cheryl Corbin. I know you, Cheryl Corbin, don't I? That name is too familiar. Upper Manhattan. I knew you meant Upper Manhattan, but you still didn't tell me what part of Upper Manhattan. What part of Upper Manhattan? Because as a Harlem dude, when you say Upper Manhattan, I want to know where. Is it Upper East Side, Upper West Side? Are we talking about Washington Heights, Inwood, all the way at the top? I want to know what you're talking about. Ankin Ma'at to Pharaoh Anksanatan, Ankin Ma'at, and from your son Jabari Amin Ra in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Wonderful. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to Global Family Webzine France. Ankin Ma'at, you are the person furthest away so far. We're talking about Upper Manhattan, Connecticut? What? You in Upper Manhattan, Connecticut. I didn't even get what you were saying there for a second, Abut Sashat. Yeah, because Connecticut ain't that far from New York City, especially certain parts of Connecticut. I remember when we had that gas scare. I think it was after the hurricane. We didn't. No one had any gas. I was on a line for like an hour and a half, and still didn't get any gas. And so finally, I said, I wonder what it would be like to drive to Connecticut. And I drove to Connecticut. Took me 45 minutes. Got a full tank of gas. Some of the people who were waiting online were still there. Incredible. I think New York City people, because of how large New York City is in terms of the number of people, and how distinct it is, and with its different boroughs, what we tend to do after a while is we tend to sort of think of New York as the be all and end all, and we shouldn't. And so I don't know how many New Yorkers, particularly New Yorkers of African descent, have even been to Connecticut or spent time in Philadelphia. I mean, there are places around us that have Black folks that do some interesting things, and we should be experiencing all of that. Anyway, Ankh and Ma'at to you too. Ankh and Ma'at to Gnostic Boo the Thinking. Ankh and Ma'at, I love that name. Happy Father's Day. Yes, happy Father's Day to all those fathers out there and those father figures. Ankh and Ma'at to Charisma Moss. Ankh and Ma'at. Ankh and Upper West Side. Okay, so you on the Upper West Side. You know, listen, when you say Upper West Side, you know, offline, you should tell me where, because that's just a short bike ride from Harlem, right? I live in central Harlem, so the Upper West Side is really just a stone's throw away. Depending on where you are, it's a train stop. I mean, it really a subway train stop. It really is close. So Ankh Ma'at to you. Ankh Ma'at to Blissfully Evolving, another wonderful name coming to us from Branford, Connecticut today. Yeah, I am sleepy. I am sleepy. Listen, my summer class at Hunter is kicking my butt because I'm revamping the curriculum. And so it's meant that I've had to do a lot of reading of things that I hadn't read in maybe 20, maybe even 30 years, and revamp the whole syllabus. So it has been really, really challenging. And I'm preparing because I have class tomorrow. So it's a lot. It's a lot. Ankh Ma'at to Sanet Shenka, Olivia B. McGraw, Ankh Ma'at, one of our full members coming to us from the DMV area, a very active member. Ankh Ma'at to you, Sanet. Ankh Ma'at. You've already known me since 2018, really? Do I know you in person, or are you talking about us just communicating online? I wonder. Um, Connecticut ain't far no matter where you go. Well, some parts of it are further away. Where did I go? Now I'm gonna squeal on myself because I'm not supposed to be getting any more books, and I have a book problem. Y'all probably already know I have a book problem. Those of you that know me personally, who have trained with me, or know, you know I have a book problem, right? I have like 4,000 books, right? But I heard of a library that was actually doing their annual book sale, and I drove, had to be an hour and a half, someplace in Connecticut, to their book sale. It was magnificent, and I came away with way too many books. So anyway, it was a little crazy. Ankh Ma'at, Ankh Ma'at. I do know that lots of portions of Connecticut are not that far away. Ankh Ma'at to Monster Shannon. Ankh Ma'at to Sheila Newson Roberts. Ankh Ma'at to Muad'Dib El Ka, who is here very often. Nuk Nuk Ket and Shenank. Ankh Ma'at, Ankh Ma'at. Ankh Ma'at to Kimberly Blue, one of our full members, coming to us from Strong Island. Ankh Ma'at to Relax, I Breathe, I Be, who is our Sinette Ashley, one of our full members. How are you? How is ATL? I think you're in ATL. I know you're in Georgia, but I think you're in ATL. How is it treating you? I hope all is well. Let's see. I went down too quickly. On the end of your day today. That's right. Blissfully Evolving is Cheryl Lee, Sinette Cheryl Lee. That's right. That's right. Ankh Ma'at to you. I hope all is well. Sinette Cheryl is one of our active, very active members. Ankh Ma'at to you. I hope all is well. Coming to us from the DMV area, I believe, still. Ankh Ma'at to Lisa Speed Attaway, another full member. Ankh Ma'at to Jehuti, Heru Jehuti Pata Umika Temra, who is one of our full members. And coming to us. Are you coming to us from California? Where are you coming to us again? He when he came through initiation, he was Sen Ernest. So some of you may know him that way, but he is Harold Jehuti. Harold Jehuti is his name. Let's see. It's a 3-hour drive to part of it. And yeah, it's a little bit long. Where is the bookstore? It's a library actually. For some reason, listen. Oh, you know what? Isn't it called the? I think it's called the Norfolk Library, and it's not Norfolk, Virginia. I think it's called the Norfolk Library. It's a beautiful old building. I think that's what it's called. And it took me a little while to get there. In fact, I'm sorry that I thought of it because the book sale, their annual book sale, is probably coming up in a few weeks, and I do not need to go there again. Yes, and Curtis says he has a book problem too. Listen, it's when it gives me access to our history, to our culture, to a deeper understanding of the world around us, it's something that I am certainly passionate about. So definitely, uh, I call it a book problem, even though I will probably always add to my books. I just hope that I have offspring that have real reverence or respect for the collection and want to keep it. If not, then I'm going to have to make some arrangements to some library to take the Osaze collection because it is big. Ankenmat to Solomonic TV. Ankenmat, who was always here. You're in Australia. Are you really in Australia? Are you really in Australia? Are you really in Australia? Did you travel to Australia, Sanette Ashley? That's a story. Wow. Anken Ma'at to Jalel Henry. Anken Ma'at. Anken Ma'at to, yeah. I think we all have family in Norfolk, Virginia. It was a mainstay of the Black community in the United States. But there is a Norfolk, Connecticut. That is where the library is. Anken Ma'at to Queen Emma Grace. Anken Ma'at to you. When you come back to Sonnetter, people have been asking me that. I've just been too busy. Some people think that I have a problem with Sonnetter or we're angry at each other. None of that is true. It has just been really difficult. Life has been lifing, as some people say. So hopefully I'll be back to Sonnetter sometime this week. Clearly, we have some important dates this week, particularly, that Juneteenth is on Thursday. And then we even have the summer solstice on Friday. I will be in Central Park, but I think I'm going to try to do it at 12 noon instead. So you'll see. I'll be announcing it on the Facebook page probably today. But that for the solstices and the equinoxes, we will be doing some sort of ceremony. Let's see. Still in DMV. But in Frankfort, Connecticut today, attended a wedding. I hope the wedding went well. I hope that the wedding went well. And said Jason Holmes, yes, blissfully evolving is Sanette Cheryl Lee. Leave the collection to you. I might have to, because I don't know what anyone would do with all these books when I finally close my eyes. There would have to be something special done with it because often I will mention books in my collection to students or to folks who are in some sort of training with me, and when they look it up, the book is extremely expensive because some of my books are now also out of print. Books that I purchased 30, 35 years ago, maybe even a little bit longer, some of them are out of print, and so they become very expensive, and it's really, really challenging. Anken Ma'at to Amis Ma'at Emen Ra. Anken Ma'at to our Hemnetter, one of the priests of the shrine. Anken Ma'at to you. I hope you're doing well. Anken Ma'at to Divine Freeman. We're still here. Anken Ma'at to Shayla Newson Roberts from Washington State. Anken Ma'at. Anken Ma'at to, yes, and you're in East Oakland, California. I thought you were in California. You graduated Penn State, Ankh and Ma'at, wonderful. And you're in Australia for graduate school? We have been out of touch. I did not know you were going to Australia for graduate school. Wonderful. Wow. Please let me know what that is like. Please let me know what that is like. Ankh and Ma'at too. Please let me know when you can meet. So let me know so can meet you. You mean meet me at the tech-in? Yeah, you're probably gonna be the first person I speak to because you're always there. So I'll text you before I put it out publicly. Ankh and Ma'at to Afromantic. Ankh and Ma'at to Ra Amin Ankh and Ma'at to Tiffany Stewart. Ankh and Ma'at Okay, Olivia Sinet Shankar is talking to somebody else. I'm sorry, I'm in your conversation. Oh, the annual Norfolk Library book sale is August 25th to until dark. Why you mess up my budget by telling me when it was? Maybe when I go, you and I have lunch. I don't know how far Norfolk is from where you are, Abu Sashad, but I'm gonna definitely go. I mean, and when I go, it's gonna be crazy. Jason Holmes says, I always tell my kids when I transition, I'm leaving them no money, only your library. And I know, with as passionate as said Jason is about history, he has a big I know he has a library. I know he has a library. I know he does. And his kids probably roll their eyes. Woo! 16,000 books in 30 categories. Yes, it was serious. Yes. And if you were a younger man to be part of your library, or you're saying after I make my transition, you don't know what, listen, the creator has in store for us. Just because you're my elder doesn't mean that I might not make my transition to hopefully to the Hall of Ma'ati and get weighed before you. We'll see. Ankan Ma'ata Jamu Ifamu Wagun from Cartagena, Colombia. Wonderful. That's pretty far away. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And we have Uzik the reminder. Are you in Nigeria, Uzik? Are you in Nigeria now? We have Tiako Jankara. We have Kwame Ma'at Ra Nyam Nyame Mentu Hotep, one of our full members. Ankan Ma'at. That's not one of our full members. I think that is that Kwame Ron? Is that the Ghanaian chief, Kwame Ron? I think that's Kwame Ron. If that is you, Kwame Ron, oh, all the myrrh and all the love to you, dear brother. We still got to figure out when we're going to link up. Ankan Ma'at to you. Ankan Ma'at to Marshall Hotepu Heru. Ankan Ma'at to Benita Sutton. Library. Yeah, he got library. He got library. Please see who in the shrine would be interested in your library. What? You trying to figure out who you're going to give your library to already? Hemnetter Ames, really? Well, ideally the shrine would have a physical location, a permanent physical location that was large enough for obviously a space for us to gather, and also a public library. But we're not at that point yet. We will see. It will happen. I'm not sure when. She's making fun of your St. Louis accent. She might be. She might be. Well, Ankan Ma'at to you all. I am so pleased that you are here with us, that you've chosen to spend part of your Sunday with us. I know that particularly on a day that everyone in the United States, at least, is celebrating Father's Day. I know that is a lot. And so I am honored that you are here. Can I also say that we're looking for someone to come in and do the opening of the way? Who would like to come in? I'm talking specifically about our fully initiated members who would like to come in and do a full, do the opening of the way for us. Please let me know who's coming in to do that. I'm truly hoping that that you will, and I'm hoping that you'll be able to do it and assist us in Kemetic Ascension, which I've already said is to Jabari Osaze, Hemnetter, and Tepi Herogen Ma'at focused. And so I'm really hoping that someone will come in and do it for us. Ankin Ma'at to DC Sinisi Neka. Ankin Ma'at, one of our full members, coming to us from the Florida area. Ankin Ma'at to Kamicha, who is Sen Gavin. Ankin Ma'at to you. Ankin Ma'at to Sinette Deloise, another full member, active members here. Ankin Ma'at to you all. And Ankin Ma'at to Ra Amen Om. I think I missed you. Um, so what we're going to do today is obviously do things as we normally would do. We'll do the opening of the way. We'll do Hessi perhaps. I think that Sar Hessi would be wonderful for today. And we'll talk a bit about Father's Day, because we have to recognize that these celebrations of those who give us life have an origin that is much, much older than these Western celebrations from the United States, much older. And so hopefully you'll benefit a bit from it while we talk about the history. But definitely at this point, we'd like to do the open of the way. I see Sen Jehutimus coming to us from Canada, from Ontario, Canada, coming in to assist us with the opening of the way. Dwa, 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 Sen. I'm so honored that you continue to come in and do the opening of the way for us. More of your fellow initiated members should hopefully become comfortable doing it as well and not just leave it to our dear Sen. But I am honored that he comes in to do the opening of the way. How are you, dear Sen?
Ankin Ma'at, dua, dua, dua. I'm feeling fantastic today.
Wonderful.
The nature has been fantastic to me in this journey, and I'm just grateful, feeling fantastic. And I have to say a special happy Father's Day to you, Hamnetter and Tepi, as my spiritual father.
Oh, wow. Dua, dua, dua for that. Dua, dua, dua. So you are here to do the opening of the way. Talk
Yes.
to us. Talk to us maybe about the opening of the way, and then you can go ahead and lead us.
Yeah, so Sanu, so family, the opening of the way is very important to me. Aside from what has been said in the past, I think for me, it just reconnects me. It reconnects me if I have to go to trial, or if I have to go to work long shifts, or if I have to help someone with something that they're going through who's feeling suicidal, or whatever the case may be. It allows me to recharge my batteries, as does Kemetic
Mm,
Ascension every 2 weeks.
mm,
But every day, every morning, I feel a little bit of the Kemetic Ascension every morning when I do the opening of the way. So
mm,
if you
mm.
don't know how to do the opening of the way, don't worry. You can learn it. I learned it, and you can too. So I hope that you'll all stand with me if you're able to stand, and to do the opening of the way with me, because as Hemnetter and Tepi Jabari always says, this is not theater. Okay, so briefly, the opening of the way ceremony was brought into its current iteration by our shrine elder, Baba Heru Ankra Samaj Se Pata of the Shrine of Pata. And it takes a lot of the principles that are learned and we know to be the case, and infer a little bit in between to make sure that we can bring back Kemetic culture into the modern era. So we're going to start off by our feet. So you can't see my feet where you are, but my left foot is slightly forward, my right foot is slightly back. And then you're going to be taking your hands and putting your left hand slightly forward, your right hand slightly back, with the left giving divine spiritual energy, the right receiving divine spiritual energy. I'll just turn to the side so you can see about how far that looks. And you don't need to break your wrists. You just need to bend them ever so slightly. And you'll see this position called the position of adoration on the walls and temples in Kemet and in Kemetic culture. We're going to start off by saying the divine word for everlasting life, which is Ankh. All right, so just follow after me if you're able to take your divine breath. On the truck in bedhead,
On a truck in bedhead.
nuke in bedhead,
Nuke in bedhead.
on the truck hoppy,
On a truck hoppy.
nuke hoppy,
Nuke copy.
to our winter. Quarter turn to your right. On the truck circuit,
On a truck circuit.
nuke circuit,
Nuke circuit.
on the truck keb sanoof,
On a truck keb sinu.
nuke keb sanoof,
Nuke keb sinu.
to our winter. Quarter turn to your right. On the truck offset,
On a truck offset.
nuke offset,
Nuke offset.
on the truck offset,
On a truck offset.
nuke offset,
Nuke offset.
to our winter.
Winter.
Quarter turn to your right. On the truck neat,
On a truck neat.
nuke neat,
Nuke neat.
on the truck duamutef,
On a truck Dwamutef.
nuke duamutef,
Nuke Dwamutef.
to our winter.
Winter.
Quarter of turn back to the front. On the truck newt,
On a truck newt.
newt newt,
Nuke newt.
on the truck geb,
On a truck geb.
newt geb,
Nuke geb.
to our winter.
Winter.
On the truck shoe,
On a truck shoe.
shoe, shoe,
Shoe. Shoe. Shoe.
nuke shoe.
Nuke shoe.
On the truck tef newt,
On a truck tef newt.
tef
Tef newt.
newt, tef
Tef newt.
tef newt, tef
Tef
newt,
newt.
tef
Nuke. Tef newt.
to our winter. On the truck poutin teru,
Teru.
nuke poutin teru. On
On a
fucking
truck.
to interu,
Teru.
nuke
Nuke.
it interu. To our winter.
Winter.
To our winter.
To winter.
Dua, dua, dua.
Dwa, 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 for leading us so ably, for describing its use so ably. Dwa, once again, for coming through. And for those of you who are wondering, he's like, what? He's going into court and helping people who are having challenges. Our dear brother is a police officer in Canada. So
Yes.
he knows that there are times that people are at their wits' end. Let's use that phrase that you've heard before. And in that instance, he tries to be a resource. Very different than sometimes some of the police we see, but you know what our dear brother is made of. You know what he's made of. So he's an asset to the community that he serves. And so I want to continually say dua to you for being you and for being present and assisting with the shrine work as much as you can. Dua, dua, dua,
Dua, dua, dua. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
dua. And you know that shirt he's wearing is fly, right? Look at his shirt.
Come
Look
on,
at
man.
his shirt.
Come on, man. Can we get right? Can we get right?
What? That's a Nefer shirt. So I don't know. Did you get it in Canada or you had it mailed
I
someplace?
can't remember where I got this one. I have one of them black websites. I can't remember which one I got this one from.
It's beautiful. It's
Yeah.
beautiful.
Dua,
Well put
dua,
together. Yes. So we're
dua.
admiring your threads as much as your commitment. So dua, dua, dua.
Thank you so
Once
much.
again.
Dua.
All right. Speak to you soon. All right.
Okay.
Shabbat.
Shema.
So I just want to say to you that his connection is one that is shared by so many of the members of the shrine, and dua to you all for being who you are and doing what you do. It's so important when we come together and assist people in recognizing that the traditions of our ancient African ancestors have not gone fallow. They have not just disappeared from the coil of human existence. We remember their traditions and we will continue to utilize them to do the work that our ancestors have divinely ordained us to do. It is of critical importance for us to remember that these traditions stand as the bedrock for virtually all of the world's spiritual traditions. I know that there are people in my life and probably in yours that are uncomfortable hearing that, but it is the truth. And so I must say to you that I am honored to be here to for Kemetic Ascension with you every 2 weeks. And I'm also honored for those of you who continue to join us and for those of you who continue to come forward to show how the legacy is operating in your life. Dua, 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 dua. So let me go ahead and say there are a bunch of other people that came through. I think. I think I'm missing some people. Ankin Ma'at to Saran Lata, another person who is always here. Ankin Ma'at to Robert Bunag, who is always here. Yes, and prayers and condolences to all the fathers who are no longer with us. That can be tough. Father's Day can be a little tough, like yours. Oh, we are asking for him to be sitting on the most glorious central seat in our ancestral homeland today, smiling at you and speaking to you from the afterlife. Definitely, my father passed what is now a little bit more than 5 years ago. It feels like it was yesterday that he passed. And while I may not be as emotional around his passing, I still know that his presence is with me, and perhaps that helps. It still is difficult not to have him here in physical form because he was always part of my life. I know that there are some fathers that, for whatever reason, are not always present in their children's lives, and there could be a wide variety of reasons. Things that we might be critical on, and things that we can definitely understand are challenging, right? I can honestly say to you that my father was one of those fathers that was there at every step of the way. And every now and then I still listen to his voicemail. He was very sick with the complications of renal cancer. And he left me a voicemail message maybe a day or two before he made his transition, saying that as soon as he got better, he was going to take the train back up to Harlem, and we were going to sit and eat popcorn and watch movies. My dad was always very present. My parents have always been very active in my life, and so his absence is palpably felt by me and by our family. It's really a challenge. So for those of us whose fathers are ancestors, we must remember that death does not destroy us, that death is nothing more than the closing of one chapter in a very long book. And then that book opens to a new, more fulfilling, more glorious epitome. It is of critical importance for us to remember that, particularly on days like this. I know I was doing what I would normally do early in the morning, kind of thumb through and read articles in the New York Times, and there was one about fathers who text their children, and I got a little emotional. But I had to remember that my father is still with me. I just have to continue to ask the ancestors and the Neteru to hone my faculties so that I can be in communication with him, because I know there is almost nothing more that he would rather do than to talk to his eldest son. And so that is of importance. I hope all of you feel that as well. And once again, I just need to say to all of those fathers here, happy Father's Day. So it is probably appropriate for us to do the Asar Hessi today, right? Asar being the archetype of fatherhood in many instances, and in many instances, even the archetype of fatherhood from the ancestral realm. We know that as we think about the challenge of fathers who are not present in our lives, one of those stories must be the story of Asar. It's almost like our ancestors recognize that we would have these sorts of challenges, that so many of us would be struggling with the absence of our fathers. And they created a divine myth to speak to the fact that our fathers are not destroyed by death, that they are, in fact, still attempting to be part of our lives from the afterworld. And in many ways, this great myth of Ast, Asar, and Heru speaks to the power of fatherhood, the power of absence, the power of loss, and the power of regaining a connection to one's ancestors. And so this is so important for us to think of. So the Asar Hessi, I think, would be really good. And for those of you who remember the Asar Hessi, it simply goes Iau, 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 Asar Neferu, Di Isa Neteru, and then Asar, 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 Ah. So for those of you who are not familiar with when we say Iau, 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 Asar Neferu, we are saying, hail to the great Asar, hail to you, hail to you, hail to you, Asar, the beautiful one. And when we say beautiful one here, this is a reference to the way that he is described in the Pertem Heru. In many ways, what we are saying is that death does not destroy him. His body does not decay. He is not one that disappears from the mortal coil. That's what the idea of the beautiful one comes from. And it goes into the later traditions. When you even look at, for example, the Christian tradition, and you look at the saints, one of the prerequisites that used to be sought for sainthood in the Roman Catholic Church, and I believe also in the Eastern Orthodox Church, was that one who dies should not, their body should not decay in the regular manner that everyone else's body decays. And so that was the idea, that death does not disfigure and destroy you. This is an idea, concept that comes from the ancient African traditions. And when you listen to how those ancestors are described, they're sometimes called the beautiful ones. They're referring to the idea, the notion that their bodies do not decay. That is what they're referring to, and it goes into the Christian tradition. We must remember that, and I'm not going to even talk about the comments that some make when they begin to say, "Well, the Catholics are not Christian." That is the most ridiculous comment that I've ever heard. I mean, we should recognize that it is the Catholic Church that gives us the canon. Without the Roman Catholic Church, without Rome deciding to use Catholicism as its state tradition, it is likely that this small itinerant tradition would no longer exist. And so we have to remember that from there, we see that most other churches branch from the Roman Catholic Church. Unless you're part of the Eastern Orthodox Church, and I don't know any Black people who are, I don't. Your origins still connect you to the Roman Church. There are some that will say, what about Ethiopia? We must remember that Ethiopia came into Christianity through Ezana, the Emperor Ezana. And Ezana, when he actually became a Christian, he actually got assistance from a Syrian Greek monk by the name of Frumentius, who, as soon as he did that, called to the Roman Church for reinforcements. Frumentius is still a saint in Roman Catholicism and in the Eastern Orthodox Church. Understand the origins. People say things sometimes without knowing the history. So these ideas went into Christianity coming from the oldest and most influential tradition in the world at that time, and that is the Kemetic tradition. So let us go with our Hessi, the Asar Hessi. This is how it goes. Iau, 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 Asar Neferu. Iau, 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 Asar Neferu. Iau, 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 Asar Neferu. Di Isa Neteru. Asar, 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 Iau, 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 Asar Neferu. Iau, 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 Asar Neferu. Iau, 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 Asar Neferu. Di Isa Neteru. Asar, 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 Asar. That is the Asar Hessi. And by the way, I mentioned what the first line was, and I realized I didn't mention what the second line was. By the way, Call Green, yes, I know we need it weekly, but hopefully you'll also be partaking in our sister shrine, the Temple of Anu's sessions. They occur on the week that we are not meeting. So that's the reason why we only are every other week. Ayana Mead, Ankin Ma'at, Shayla Newson Roberts, I think I already said Ankin Ma'at to you. There's Shen Ka telling us to like and subscribe. Dua, dua, dua. And said Jehutimas said, you should drop a StreamYard link for the Hessi. I really should. I really should. It's the same link, but putting it in the chat again might get some of you to come in. So I will do that next time. That's a good suggestion. And I see Sentuti from Forever saying, there's music. You hear that music? So, and Crush a Pep, I love that name, by the way. Crush a Pep, wonderful, wonderful. The first line is Iau, 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 Asar Neferu. That means, once again, praises, 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 praises to Asar, the beautiful. And then it says Di Isa. Di Isa is like, give us, well, it's Di Isa Neteru, which means give us divine protection. We are asking Asar to give us divine protection. And then we say Asar, 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 and that's Asar, 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 the great, great. That's really the way to translate that entire thing. And I'm hoping that you use these great Hessi when you are actually doing your work, because we know that throughout your day, I'm sure there are times that you confront a feeling of fundamental disempowerment, that perhaps the things that are going on in the world around you are too large or too challenging for you to actually contend with. Well, doing Hessi should allow you to draw divine power to get that work done. That is really what we should do. That's really what we should do. And so I really hope that one of the things that you will do is continue to use Hessi in order to actually do all of the work, to confront the world in all of its challenge every day. So, okay, let's go. And Dwa for putting the Cash App back into the chat. Sanet Chenkal, that's very helpful. I see Sarah says he needs that Hessi in their playlist. Yes. Keep in mind that if you go to any of the streaming sites and you type in Shrine of Ma'at, Temple Music Volume 1, you're going to see our CD that we created with that wonderful couple, the Schaefers, and you're going to hear that Hessi. I believe the Asar Hessi is on there as well, so you can listen to it. You can go to Spotify, go to even YouTube has it. What else has it? All of the major streaming sites, you'll find it. And so just look for Apple Music has it as well. Yes, it's certainly on there. So please enjoy. Okay, with that, I'd like to talk. I know I'm going to say briefly, and some of you are going to laugh because I can sometimes struggle with brevity. But I'd like to talk to you a little bit about the history of Father's Day, and perhaps much more importantly, the power of recognizing the concept of connecting to divine fathers as it comes from the Kemetic tradition. And I know that it truly has been a challenging issue in the African American, African descended community, particularly because Black men have been the most ardent target of violence, of the criminal justice system, of the prison industrial complex. There are a large number of reasons why men of African descent of the United States are taken from their homes. And so Father's Day can be challenging. I know so many of my friends and family members who were raised without their father, and that was very difficult for them. And so Father's Day can be challenging in our community. It really can be challenging. But I want you to take a look at this as we describe the origins even of the day here, because we know that so many of you are going to be celebrating, so many of the people around you are going to be celebrating. So be aware of it. First of all, let's see. What's the history of Father's Day in the United States? What is the history of Father's Day in the United States? You should know that it was created by a woman named Sonora Smart Dodd for her father, William Jackson Smart. William Jackson Smart. And Smart Dodd heard a sermon about Anna Marie Jarvis creating Mother's Day for her mother. And after that, she decides that she's going to create Father's Day a few months later. You may remember when we talked about Mother's Day that Anna Marie Jarvis was the woman that brought Mother's Day into existence in the United States. And she was very critical of the treatment of mothers in the United States. Well, at the very same time that Anna Marie Jarvis was creating Mother's Day, Sonora Smart Dodd heard about this and decided to create Father's Day. So they have a similar origin in the United States. Smart Dodd went to local churches, the YMCA, shopkeepers, and government officials to drum up support for the idea for a Father's Day. And she originally wanted to be held on her father's birthday, June 5th. But she had issues planning it. The first celebration was on June 19th, 1910, in Spokane, Washington, although observance of the holiday faded a bit in the 1920s. You should know that her inspiration, her father, was a very interesting character. He was a Civil War veteran. Whenever you hear Civil War veteran, what should you ask yourself, black folks? What side he fight for? That's always what that's what happens in my head when I hear Civil War, right? And so it's interesting in that regard. Apparently, he was a Civil War veteran who reared his 6 children virtually on his own because his wife died. And so that's part of the story. But what else can we tell about him? You should know, you should know that in 1916, President Woodrow Wilson sent a telegraph to Spokane, Washington, in support of the day. And the popular politician William Jennings Bryan was an early supporter of the holiday. In 1966, President Lyndon Baines Johnson signed a proclamation declaring the third Sunday of June Father's Day. And by 1972, you should know that Richard Nixon established a permanent observance. So that's the history of how we got to celebrating this particular day. Very interesting to me, and perhaps very interesting to you. I think the thing that I find so interesting is that it had lots of a long path to becoming a holiday. It did not happen right off. And so you should just recognize that this is one of the ways that we know that he actually that it actually comes into existence. It wasn't an easy thing, and because it wasn't an easy thing, you should know that it has a long, long history, but it doesn't actually really become popular until Richard Nixon. Richard Nixon is the reason why we begin to think much more about this day. So here's something else interesting, I find at least. Understand that William Jackson Smart had raised his daughter and his other children because his wife died in childbirth, as I mentioned earlier. And William Jackson Smart is unusual because he fought for both sides in the Civil War. He fought for both sides in the Civil War. Isn't that unusual? He actually was fighting for the Confederacy, then he was captured, and then eventually he fights on the Union side. So he's a really interesting mercurial character as he fights on both sides of the war. He's not connected to the Confederacy in that sense. Let's talk a little bit about the idea, and I'm not going to be here long because I know that you have your celebrations today if you are celebrating it. I want to say to you that we should talk about the Kemetic myth and the power of fatherhood in the Kemetic myth. Here are some images of my own dad. The first picture on the left is me and my dad. I believe that this is actually either in sort of in early, probably late high school, early college. My younger sister, when she sees this image of the two of us, she says we look like the best insurance salesman in Southeast Queens. I think that is hilarious. That is hilarious. But we were at some event. I don't even remember which one. And there I am with my dad. Look at that. You know this is old when you see Jabari with hair, right? So so definitely this was an important event. Me sitting there with my dad and us getting a picture, and then you can see him in the middle receiving a Father's Day gift. He got this. My father loved to bake. He was a really, really great baker. He's really, really good, and so I believe we chipped in and got him this apron so that he would use it around the kitchen. And so that was important. And then I believe that the picture on the right is actually him at my younger sister's graduation. You can see my dad there, very proud. My mother is in the middle there. That little young guy down below is my nephew, who is very important to me. Is the closest thing I have to a son. His name is Zori. He's very, very important to me. My older sister is next to my mom. That's his mother. And then my aunt Melissa, who was a very important part of my life as well. And she is also an ancestor. So this was us going to Syracuse, New York, because my sister got her degree from Syracuse, and we were all so happy. You might say, well, why aren't you in the picture? I'm pretty sure I was the one taking this picture. So that's the reason why you don't see me. But it was really, really great for us as children, because my dad was very involved. My mother was also involved, but my dad never left the kids to his wife, our mother. He was always involved. My dad was a great cook, so they both would cook. As I told you, he was a baker. I mean, everything from cakes to pies to breads. I mean, he was really, really good. And on his passing, for a long time, we did not open the cabinet that had his recipe books, because he collected recipes and he would try recipes, and because they had all of his little personal notes in them, it was just a little too painful to open it and read them. But recently we opened it and gave some of them to his granddaughter, who was also an incredible baker, my little niece. And so I'm going to say to you, on a day like Father's Day, it is impossible for me not to think about my own father, who is an ancestor. And I want to say to you clearly, everyone here should celebrate their fathers. Everyone here who is a father should feel celebrated, should feel challenged, should feel less challenged today, particularly because we know what this system has done and is continuing to do to Black men. We know this. We know the challenges of fatherhood in the United States for men of African descent. We must make sure that those men in our lives who are father figures feel our love, feel our gratitude, and that's even if they're ancestors. Get up in your altars, family, and prepare. Do the work that is necessary so that you can remember, so you can commemorate your fathers. And I have to say to you, remember, a fundamental tenet of spiritual work is that which you feed is that which lives. That is good or bad, supportive or destructive. That which you feed is that which lives. And so if you want your fathers, if they are ancestors, to be present in your life, you must continue to feed them, say their names, pour offerings, get up in your altar and recognize that they are still with us. Today is a perfect day to do so. It is of critical importance. And as I think about fathers and how difficult it is, you can see here, this is Eric Gardner, the man whose life was snuffed out by the NYPD, the New York Police Department in Staten Island, standing with his children. Look at his face. I'm going to tell you that when he was murdered by the New York City the Police Department, they certainly did not want to show an image like this, with a man being nurturing, being loving. They wanted to make you think that he was belligerent. They wanted to make you think that he just engaged in illegal activity, even though he may have been selling cigarettes. What kind of crime is that? What they should have been explaining to you, that what they did was they removed a man from his children. Fatherhood in the United States for Black men has been challenging. Today is a day we should celebrate them. And of course, as we think about fathers, we should even be thinking about, now what you're seeing here is you're seeing the daughter of George Floyd. This man that she's on is not her father. That's her uncle, her father's best friend. And you have to remember these sorts of situations where fathers are not able to be there for their children. We should surround these children and ensure that they feel all of the love and myrrh, that we tell them about how much their fathers love them and allow them to remember them, even though they are not able to do it themselves. Listen to this young lady, I believe her name is Gianna, talk about her father on this day.
That's right. That's just the work.
George Floyd's 6-year-old daughter Gianna already knows the impact her dad has had on the world.
No justice! No justice!
Protests against police brutality are happening all over the U.S. and the world after Floyd, a 46-year-old black man in Minneapolis, died when a police officer pressed his knee into his neck for more than 8 minutes. In a touching new video shared to Instagram, Gianna sits on the shoulders of her dad's longtime friend, former NBA star Steven Jackson, smiles ear to ear and beams with pride.
That's right. That's just the work.
Jackson shared the clip on his account, writing, "That's right, Gigi, Daddy changed the world. George Floyd, the name of change." The former basketball star also shared a GoFundMe page for Gianna, which surpassed its $500,000 goal in just one day.
This ain't gonna be easy. This ain't gonna be easy. And to everybody that know me, I'm all the way in.
Jackson is a longtime friend of Floyd's. He even said they referred to themselves as twins prior to his tragic death. Jackson shared a screen grab of the GoFundMe page on Instagram and wrote in the caption, "Don't worry, twin, on my soul, I got Gigi. No, Dad, I am my brother's keeper and I got a lot of brothers." Adding, "Rest easy, twin."
I don't have a lot to say because I can't get my words together right now.
On Tuesday, Gianna's mom, Roxy Washington, spoke out, making a tearful statement with her daughter by her side at Minneapolis City Hall.
He will never see her grow up, graduate. He will never walk down the aisle. If it's a problem she's having and she needs her dad, she does not have that anymore.
Jackson, Washington, and Floyd's little girl sat down with CNN on Tuesday for a tear-filled interview.
She was standing by the door and she said, Mom, something going on with my family. And I say, why you say that? She said, because I hear them saying my dad's name on TV. She wanted to know how he died. And the only thing that I can tell is he couldn't breathe.
I want us to think about how challenging fatherhood has been. I want us to think about what we can do to ensure that those children who are not with their fathers still feel all of the myrrh, still get all of the support, still are able to become the individuals that they were meant to become. I think I love how I hear Steven Jackson saying that he is now taking over the responsibility of fatherhood for George Floyd's daughter, Gianna. This is the kind of thing that we must do. Sometimes we know the stories of all of these men who lost their lives either through brutality or gave their lives for a movement and a cause, but we don't think about what happened to their children. I think if you look at the story of El-Hajj Malik El-Shabazz, Malcolm X, one of the parts of the story that is often not discussed is the impact that his murder, his assassination had on his children. And I would dare say that the life of his grandson was made more difficult because of the murder of his grandfather. These things travel generationally. We have to make sure that we dispense with these generational challenges. In the church, they would call it a generational curse, and to make it feel like there's something that you did that is impacting your children. Let me say to you, family, I bet the Neteru do not act in such a capricious manner. They do not visit upon a child the punishments for their father, for their mother. That is not how the Neteru behave. Your heart must be weighed for your deeds. However, we should recognize that societies cause generational curses. Societies practice harm that lasts for generations, that lasts down decades through lineages. We must ensure today that we celebrate our fathers, that we get into our altars and say the names, pour libation for our fathers who are ancestors, and that we support those children whose fathers were not able to be as supportive as they would have wanted to be because of the society that we live in, which takes Black men as the target of their racist violence. We must do these things in order to ensure that we are doing the work of the Neteru. This is important. And I want us to think about this. I see Senjehutima says, these incidents are the reason I signed up to be a police officer with my aunt and RBG and my OB. We have to be responsible for those people around us. And some of us, like our dear Senjehutimes, are saying, there's got to be a different way to do this. I'm going to do it for my community. And he deserves all of the admiration for doing that. Because we know that very often those people in our communities who are paid, who have taken an oath to protect us, do just the opposite. They brutalize us and they murder us. We have to ensure that this changes. And by having people who are grounded in their community, grounded in African tradition, that is one of the first tools that we will have to change this trajectory. I have to say, I admire you, Senjehutimes, for what you're trying to do. And all of us have to try to support those who are without their fathers. You should know that a recent article on News One says that 72% of Black children are raised by a single parent. But even when you include Black families into the entire polity of the United States, that number is 25%, which must mean that a very large number of Black children are raised by single parents. We should be sure that we are surrounding those children and ensuring that they get what they need. So often when we hear these sorts of statistics, we are told it like Black men don't seek to support their children. And I'm going to say to you, of course, as in any community, there are some people who are simply not doing what they should be doing. But let's be clear, after generations, after hundreds of years of attacking Black men, we should know that those ills are part and parcel of the narrative of the story of the United States. And this is one of the main reasons why we continue to see that Black men are not involved in their children's lives. They do not get to blame Black men while they maim Black men. That is what they would like you to believe. That is what they would like you to believe. When we talk about the Kemetic tradition, when we talk about fathers in the Kemetic tradition, we see the divine connection of man, woman, and child. In the Christian tradition, I'm not sure what they're doing. They got a young man, an old man, and a bird. The Holy Spirit, the Holy Ghost. In the Kemetic tradition, what we see is something so much more ma'atical. When we look at the very Merkutu, the pyramids, we are seeing a narrative of fathers, of strong fathers. You should know that the Great Mer is built primarily as in celebration of, in commemoration to one father. Seneferu is that man that creates 3 Mers, and then his son Khufu builds the Great Mer. He is doing it according to the concepts that his father brings into existence. And then his son, Jedef Ra, builds one. Jedef Ra is the eldest son of Khufu. His is not on the Giza Plateau. So you're not seeing Jedef Ra's Merkut. But the one in the middle you are seeing is by Khafra, the son, the second son of Khufu. And then the one closest in the screen, the one on the left is that of Menkaura, who is the great grandson of Seneferu, the grandson of Khufu, the son of Khafra. We are seeing the power, the sturdy hewn power of Black fatherhood etched in stone for millennia. We are stronger than the challenges that have been visited upon us. We are more sturdy than the subjugation that has been meted upon us by white supremacy. We are more powerful than those negative racist narratives that have been placed on Black men. But the first thing we must do is understand who we are and from whence we come. That is the key to being who we must be. That is the key to adhering to the call to higher consciousness that was put forward by our ancestors. So much of this tradition that has amazed millions of people worldwide is actually the story of fatherhood. We must remember it today. Remember it today. That an enslaver's whip could not destroy fatherhood. That the enslaver's chains could not destroy fatherhood. That the systems of white supremacy cannot neuter fatherhood. Fatherhood is here, and it must be protected, and it must be strengthened. This is the greatest narrative when it comes to Kemet. The very story of Astasar and Heru is about divine parents giving to a divine child. We know that in this great story, Asar is the wisest, the most powerful man in the land, but he is murdered by his own brother who is jealous of his role in a coup for the throne. That is what this story is about. And then Ast, his wife, has to struggle to bear the child, the offspring of Asar, and then struggle perhaps even harder to ensure that that child is raised without his father. In many ways, this myth mirrors the story that our sisters have actually had to deal with in the United States. Mirrors it in some very, very ironic and powerfully apt ways. Did you know Asta, of course, is the great queen, a woman of great power, right? A woman of great dignity. But as she is raising her son without his father, she must dress in rags and clean the homes of powerful women. Did you know that was part of the myth? Why, if you go to any park, any school in our United States where there are large numbers of European children, children of white descent, of European descent, children that we sort of call white, the Tom who, you're going to see large numbers of women raising those children. I know if I go to Upper East Side, Upper West Side, and I look around, I'm going to see a bunch of black nannies raising little white kids. You better understand that. These are mothers that must raise other people's children. They are queens that must actually work in the homes of wealthy women. Is that not an echo of the narrative of Ast? In one part of the story, Ast, who is rearing someone else's child, is told that she must suckle, that she must give him her own milk. And instead of giving him her divine milk, what does she do? Do you remember what she does to that other person's child who she's rearing? It's not something that is harmful to the child, but it's an interesting way to look at this. She actually takes her small finger and puts her pinky in the child's mouth, and that is how he gets sustenance, from her very finger, not from her breast. Her breasts are for Heru. So this woman, who is the most powerful queen in this great myth, must raise a child that is not her own, dressed in rags, pretending not to be the queen who she is. It is later that she is able to assist her child in growing, and through her raising of him, he is able to reconnect with his father who is in the ancestral realm. In fact, what he does is he rectifies his father's name. He avenges his father. Literally, the way that it is translated in the Pertem Heru is, I will avenge my father. They say Unnefer, Unneter, the great divine. I will avenge him. We must avenge our ancestors. We must recognize that we must avenge our ancestors. This is how this narrative is told. This is how the story of Asten Heru is. Here is Set, or Sutek. As you know, this is the jealous brother who kills Asar so that he can take his throne. We see these images all over Kemet of Ast, the wife of Asar, weeping because her husband has been murdered. And instead of staying in her palace and weeping, she must then flee, because just as her husband is murdered, Set seeks to murder her too. Because remember, when Asar was abroad, when he was still alive and king of Kemet, it is Ast that sat on the throne and ruled Kemet. So Set, or Setesh, must then decide that he is going to kill her to be able to solidify his claim on the throne. You will see her weeping. There are all of these images of Ast weeping. And I want you to know that this concept, that this very powerful, very dignified, in fact, divine woman is dealing with pain and agony of the kind that she did not visit upon herself, is where we get the idea for Mary in the Christian tradition. Remember, she is in great sorrow. There is that very old statue known as the Pieta, where you see her holding the lifeless body of her son, and she is in sorrow. This is the reason, one of the reasons why Mary, the mother of Jesus, becomes such an important person in Christianity. because according to the average practitioners, they recognize that she is a powerful divine woman, but that bad things happen to her nonetheless. And she has to figure it out. She has to deal with the great sorrow of the world. And we recognize that while we live these lives, sometimes bad things happen. And we have to find the intestinal fortitude, the spiritual mettle to deal with these challenges. That is the reason why you see Mary playing such a prominent role. Do you know for hundreds of years, Roman Catholic leaders argued over what the role of Mary should be? The people loved Mary, but they were trying to create a extremely a male-oriented, patronistic tradition. Did you know that? And there were arguments. They were trying to say, why are they celebrating her? She should be nothing more than a woman. Did you know that? But the average people kept her in their minds, perhaps because some of the average people even remembered the weeping, the sorrows of Ast. And in many ways, those sorts of sorrows are visited upon us. Why should you pray to this divine character when you can see yourself in the life of Mary? So instead, people would pray to Mary. I know that as a young Roman Catholic, when I did something wrong, I was made to say the Hail Mary, Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. I would have to say many of those. Almost like you see Bart Simpson writing his punishment on the board. That's what I would have to do. This comes from somewhere. It comes from the Kemetic tradition. So we see Ast weeping, Ast in sorrow. And then we see that through her sorrow, she is able to take in the divine seed of Asar and give birth to their son. And as she gives birth to her son, then she suckles and raises him without his father. I know none of y'all ever experienced that. None of y'all women in our Kemetic family have ever had to raise a child on your own. This is unknown to you, right? This is unfamiliar terrain. Of course it isn't. We know that for so many of our queens in our community, the Senetu have had to do this. This is the story of Astasar and Heru. But you must assist in raising this child to avenge his father. Avenge him against who? Satesh? Well, the Satesh of the day is the system that destroys Black men. The Satesh of the day is the system that would put their neck on their knee on a man's neck for 9 minutes, or put a man in an outlawed chokehold as he tells us that he cannot breathe. That's what we are seeing. This story is not unfamiliar to our African ancestors. They thought that they would have a divine myth that would assist us with dealing with this kind of sorrow. So you see us suckling the child. By the way, some of you might notice very rarely is Heru depicted as a falcon until he has victory over his uncle. Usually as a child, he's depicted as a human. I always think that's interesting. But look at this. You are seeing her suckle her child to bring him into existence. And then you see him avenging his father, raising the Jed. This very coffin, this very Neb Ankh is in the Brooklyn Museum. You are looking at the back of it. And what you are seeing is he is avenging. He is resurrecting his father with his surrogate father, Jehuti. Jehuti is the symbol of wisdom. And it is Jehuti that assists Heru with becoming a man. And with that, what does he do? They raise the backbone of Asar. This is meant to be the resurrection of Asar. The backbone symbolically is that portion of the body that allows one to stand upright. Symbolically, that portion of the body that allows us to live, to stand upright. So this symbol that you see, this pillar that has these 4 sections on it that are horizontal on this vertical pillar, is actually the symbol of the resurrection of Asar. Sometimes the ceremony that was used, even in one's transition, would have been called the resurrection of the raising of the Jed pillar. And every year there was a celebration of the raising of the Jed. The raising of the Jed, which was a celebration to Asar and also a time to celebrate one's father. For thousands of years, ancient Africans celebrated the roles of their fathers. Long before the 1920s, long before the 1970s and the 1960s, we see Africans recognize that it is important to recognize divine fatherhood and motherhood. And you are seeing this here, that this child has had assistance in becoming a man from his father figure, Tehuti. How many of you are the Tehutis in a child's life? How many of you are doing that? Some of you are probably doing that. Maybe this young man's father is not present. Are you the Jehuti in your life, assisting a young man in becoming a man in the absence of his birth father? In some ways, Jehuti here is in the role that we hear Joseph in the Christian tradition playing, assisting with the raising of a young man. And because these are myths that include us all, recognize that this raising of the Jed is on the spine of on the back of someone's neb ankh or coffin, because they are Asar in this instance. This is how these sacred myths are supposed to be used as narratives to help us live. That in fact, we are Asar, we are Ast, we are Heru, we are Jehuti. If this idea did not exist, why would the Jed column, the pillar of the resurrection of Asar, be on the backbone of the person who was interred in this coffin? Were it not for us using the allegory in its greatest usage. Can you see that this person is Asar in this instance? This is powerful. And this is the way that African spiritual traditions are rendered. It is powerful. After that, after Heru becomes the king, we then see that he puts his uncle in his right place. His uncle is no longer raging. His uncle then becomes a symbol of how to unite oneself. So you see that very often you're going to see Set or Setesh putting the crown of Kemet on a king with his nephew Heru, and Heru has the crown. Heru is the victor. Heru has avenged his father. He does not kill his uncle. He does not kill his uncle. His uncle's power is then put in its right place. This is what the greatest narrative of Astasar and Heru. And that's the reason why you see Heru here wearing the dual crown next to his father, who is wearing the Atef crown, or the crown that is a stylized version of the white crown of Kemet. Heru here is victorious because his mother helped rear him, because Jehuti played an important role in his life. He has become the king and avenged his father. How many of you are assisting with the raising of a child who must become the king? And then, of course, we know in our great narrative Asar is in the afterworld. And in order for any of us to become Asar, we must be introduced by his son, Heru. And then we become Asar after our hearts are weighed and we are found Makeru, true of voice. This is of critical importance. We must remember that this is how our tradition exists. That in many ways, what we are seeing is the way that our ancestors tell us we should live. This is important. So today I'm asking you, Kemetic, I am asking you to remember to celebrate your fathers, whether they are still on the living plane or whether they are in the in the ancestral realm. I really feel that you should know that it is of critical importance for you to do the work that you have been divinely ordained to do. That you should actually do the work of avenging one's father, do the work of supporting the children whose fathers are not present, and get up in your altars today to celebrate your fathers. With that, I say the divine force in me greets the divine force in you. Please go forward and do the work that you must do today. Kemetic Ascension should not just be us describing these myths and talking about how to live a Kemetic life, but hopefully it's your briefing meeting. And then the rest of the week, the rest of the 2-week period, you go forward and do things in great power. Well, I'm going to tell you, I'm probably going to do some sort of lecture. My original plan might have fallen through for Juneteenth, which is on Thursday. And then also we have the summer solstice, which is on Friday. I will be in Central Park, probably at 12 noon. I will let you know as soon as I am able. But please be sure that you are doing the work this week and being the member of the Kemetic community that our ancestors sought for you to be. With that, I say, Shemin Ma'at, go forth in divine balance and do that which you must do. Celebrate those fathers. I'll see you soon.